Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, it's another visit to Bonsai Acres. So when I woke up this morning, there was a cloud deck and we had some rain. All the streets were wet and my trees were all watered really nicely. It's one of those beautiful scenarios. Friday night into a Saturday and it rains early in the morning. You wake up, it's cloudy, what's gonna happen? Prediction of rain most of the day. And as I arrive at the farm at 10:30 in the morning, the sun is just coming out through the clouds. The clouds are gonna clear for a good part of the day and it's gonna be a fantastic day. So I've got a couple graduation parties to attend today. We said goodbye to 11 seniors at school. My last day was yesterday and today I'm digging right back into the trees before I go head to some graduation parties. So we're at Bonsai Acres and we're gonna do some weeding today. We're gonna try to put some tags on the trees because this is the third year of planting. And my memory isn't good enough to remember what is what anymore, so we have to do some tagging. First up though, it rained last night, so it's a little moist, and of course the more moisture you have in the ground, the lot easier it is to pull some of those weeds up out of the ground. So while I get set up here at Bonsai Acres, let's go back 2 years when it all began, the first summer in June when I had to do my first bit of weeding. It was pretty thick. It was pretty heavy. I'll show you a before shot when the trees were planted, and then we'll get into the video. Yeah, I had my work cut out for me. Let's go check that out while I go get started here today. It's June 29th, and I'm out at the tree farm. And you can see they've plowed all around the trees, but I haven't done my share of weeding yet. So today, we are gonna tackle some weeding around the trees. We've got some Frasur firs out on the side. Weeds not as thick here as in the middle. One row in we have some balsam. And you can't even see the trees down past the weeds. There's a bushy little canaan struggling for some nutrients and water with those weeds growing in there. That one's not so bad. The white pines on the other side, you can see them a little bit better. A little further in we have the red pines. When you pull back you can't even see some of these trees. So we got some work to do. So quite literally what I'm doing here is just getting down on my hands and knees and going around every tree and getting rid of these big weeds. Now I anticipate when I'm done with this for all 5 rows, I would come back in a couple of days and then I would run the lawnmower in one direction where I have 4 feet between the rows, but I planted the trees about 3 feet apart and there's some mulch that tried to keep these weeds at bay a little bit. And if there's one thing I'm discovering with this first round of weeding, I didn't put enough mulch in there per tree. So I will probably grab some more mulch in my next visit after everything's cut back and looking good, and we'll spread some more mulch around. The mulch is still here. It's already broken down a little bit on some of the trees. And some trees really seem, some mulch piles I should say, really held back the weeds pretty good. But boy, in this middle section, these weeds just wanted to take off everywhere. So I'm just clearing out some of the stuff that's within about a foot or so from the base of the tree. And again, we'll come back with a lawnmower and a weed whip, and we'll get some more weeds to be down. Of course, getting rid of the weeds by these two trees. This was one of the trees that I had come out last time and saw some suffering here. We definitely got some, about 50% of this tree is not doing so well. But there's still growth on the tree. There's still green. And in the world of bonsai, this is a long way from becoming a bonsai tree. If we have some death this year, but it comes back next year and grows a different direction because of the death, or we get some interesting back budding, okay, that's what we're always looking for. So we'll chalk this one as, let's hope it continues. Got a very good solid growth up on top and another solid branch down here, so we're good. Things are still moving along in a positive direction, even though we see some brown. And this is about the same amount of brown I saw last time. So I'm not thinking it's getting worse. The tree's just getting a little bit bigger, and the green stuff is now sprouting out. And there are a whole bunch of buds back in here. Here's a new bud right here. This stuff is gonna be just fine. A new bud on this branch. We're gonna be good. We're approaching halfway. We got a lot of work to do. As I finish up the third row of trees, 30 of the 45, I'm super glad that I came out tonight. Came back from a trip up north. And last night while I was up north, I was paying attention to the forecast to see if I had to have my son water trees at home. But I'm also always paying attention to the forecast to know how the trees here out at the tree farm are doing and how much water they're getting. And this year in Minnesota, when we get rain, it's pouring buckets. And last night, I talked to some family members, 6 inches in their gauges. I think the gauges only go to 6 inches, and they were overflowing. So I figured I really should come out tonight, and I'm glad I did, because I don't know if you can tell from your angle. Dirt and mud. These weeds are coming out so nice because the ground is so saturated with all the moisture we've had in the past couple of weeks, but mainly the episode in the last 36 hours. It was just raining and raining and raining. So I'm able to just grab these and pull most of them out with a thumb and a finger if I need to, if they're not coming out with my fists. So 3 rows done. We got a couple more to go, and then we will probably come back tomorrow or the next day with the lawnmower and the weed whip and chop up all this other stuff and hopefully spit it out to the sides. But the trees are looking good. You can kind of see them again. As the sun continues to set, I am 2 trees away from finishing all 45. These last trees, my hands are definitely getting tired, and my rings around the trees of weeding definitely not as big as what they were when I started. But we got the main ones close to the trunk, and after we bring a lawnmower out here and take care of business, there will be not much left. And of course the ground, like I said, is saturated. So the next couple of days, the next week or so, if the sun comes out a lot, it's good that I got these things plucked now. But there will be more popping up awfully soon with the warmth, the length of the sun in the middle of summer, and all the water that's graciously taking care of these weeds. But they're also taking care of the pine trees. So it's been a good year so far. Year number 1, experiment year number 1 is going well. The trees are all alive, only a couple with some dead patches on them, or dying patches. Things are looking pretty good. This one has a couple of spots too towards the bottom. And again, I'll have to remulch these too, because I've lost a good layer of mulch by taking all these weeds out and messing around as much as I have. Whew. All right. Next year I hope to plant 50 to 100 more, and the year after that 50 to 100 more. And my thought right now, based on what I see with growth, is that I'll be able to start plucking these for pre-bonsai in as little as 2, but probably 3 years. So I think 3 years is going to be the magic number, but some of them could go even at 2, depending upon how, of course, we see the winter and next year's growth. But I am done plucking the weeds. I need to give my hands a break. So let's get an overview shot, and then we will head home for the night. Now you can see the rows again. There's that middle one. That's still a forest. We can see the trees in their glory, doing well out at Bonsai Acres. Not acres yet, but one day. I sure remember that day. That was a lot of weeds. And thank goodness I was out there on a day again after some rain. It made pulling up those weeds a lot easier. As I pull up some of the weeds today, even that rainfall we had this morning was not enough to really saturate the ground. So once you pick some weeds and see how dry the earth is below, you realize how much rain we really do need to satisfy our trees. Which is why we have the mulch on. So as I work on these trees today, I have some good mulch from our planting this year that Toby and I did about a month ago. About a month ago, these trees went in the ground. And as you can see, we have some nice buds. They're taking off really, really well. Things look really good here out at the farm with the new batch of trees. I got some good mulch on here, but I think I'm gonna go, I brought my wheelbarrow today, and we're gonna mulch these even more. I want to make sure that the moisture stays where it needs to if we get a dry season, and it also helps protect from massive weed growth. I can get a lawnmower going this way on both sides, but I did plant them close together for the reason that we're going to take these trees up in 3 to 5 years. They're not going to be the 7 to 10 years that the tree farm owner will have his Christmas trees. These are going to be bonsai trees, and so we got to get them out of the ground at least after somewhere in the 3 to 5 range, because what I'll do is I'll either put them in some some nursery pots, and we'll keep close watch of them at my place, or we'll put them back in the ground and we'll do a little root work. There you go. That's easy to say fast 3 times. And so one of the things that I recently heard, so Jonas Dupuis and Andrew Robeson were on their podcast right after the Farm to Table event, where they talked about people who were growing trees and the need for growing trees around the country. And it was really inspiring to listen to that podcast. They were sitting around Andrew's place, sitting at the fire pit, and just after the show had ended, the weekend. And one of the things they talked about is how a lot of the professionals in the bonsai world who make videos, and bless their hearts, they're incredibly gifted, they're incredibly talented, they're incredibly knowledgeable, but a lot of the things that we watch, and a lot of the podcasts, a lot of the how-to videos are oftentimes on trees that are in that refinement stage. And we still don't see a ton of really good quality videos and educational tutorial situations on the early stages of bonsai. And so it was really refreshing to hear Jonas and Andrew talk about the need for that. And I just found that really refreshing and exciting because, well, for one, that's exactly what I do on bonsai, with Bonsai Acres and Dave's Bonsai, is I'm experimenting and I'm trying new things. I have to tell you that I'm one of those people who I don't like to conform to all the rules necessarily, which is funny because I was a rule follower all my life. And although there's a lot of bonsai basics, I'm not solid that there's one or two trees that are bonsai and everything else is secondary, you know. So I really thrive on this journey, learning new things and watching new growth. When I walk by a tree and see new foliage sprouting out from their buds, every day that gets me excited. So it's really fun to come out here at the farm on a day like today and see all these fresh buds, and we're going to hope that they stay strong. But it's an experiment, right? Can this make a really good bonsai? Can the Frasur firs, can the balsam firs, can the Korean firs become bonsai material? Will they back bud in the right places for us to be able to keep a tree compact? I know the white and the red pines that don't do back budding per se compared to something like this, especially the white pines. They're going to be taller, bigger trees, but could be a really fun bonsai. There are trees and pots that are 5 feet in diameter and 6 feet tall, so you can make a huge bonsai if you desire. So each to their own, right? So as I work at Bonsai Acres, I'm just learning the craft and just trying to spread the knowledge of how to take care of trees and how trees respond to what we do to them. So I'm going to continue my weeding here. I just started this first row. We're going to get through the rows of weeding first. And then after I'm done weeding, I'm going to go ahead and add some mulch, some more mulch to some of these trees, the old ones, the new ones. And then we're going to, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to do some tagging of the trees so I kind of know what's going on in the future when I come out here. So let's continue our weeding process. Now, as I'm weeding today, one of the things I'm looking for is if I come up a tree, I've got some tools with me, so if I come on as a tree and I see something that's blatantly not something I want or something we can take care of, I'm going to try to take care of it so I don't have to recircle back here since I'm going by every tree to weed. So we have some brown dieback, we have some death of trees, we might have some fungus issues, we have some winter burn possibly happening. And when I talked to my friend Neil about the trees, he said he had some winter burn as well, but as long as there's buds and we have some healthy growth, the tree, you know, there's a good chance the tree will make it. So we have a whole bunch of green down below here, and the top here even has some green right here on this side, but there is some of this brown. Now, in the past with the trees, we've noticed the brown has been real soft still and didn't get like bone dry brown, but maybe more if it was like some kind of fungus. Now, this is never going to come back, this branch. So why waste the energy? Why not see if we can already make some pre-bonsai cuts and send the growth and energy to other parts of the tree? Now, if there is some life on the branch, I'm going to leave those branches. Because like right here, this is half brown and half green, but there's 3 new tips at the bud. We might be able to peel off all of these pieces of foliage here later on this year, and then just keep the good stuff. Because I've had a couple trees in my backyard do the same thing, where I just peeled off the 3rd year growth. This is probably 2nd or 3rd year growth down here. This is going to die off and come off anyway. Well, I'm not going to pluck all of these today, but there we go. Here's an example right here of me plucking this guy. So hopefully that's not any fungal issues. But now we have this branch that has a little bit of death on here, but look at all that fresh green healthy growth. Could this become a new leader on this tree? Depends upon what happens with back budding and what happens with this tree down the road. So I've got all of this right here. This is all, we got a tree that's 1, 2, 3, 4 years old. This is one of the older trees, not one of the newer ones. So it's been in the ground since probably last year. And yeah, we have some death on it. And if I cut it back here, will I get some new back budding down here now with all this green? Will something come and back bud down here? We have some branches down low in this tree, so we'll just let those go. So as I go and clear off some of my trees, with weeds on the ground, I'm also looking for some of these things that we can just take off and try to promote the healthiest tree possible. This would take me hours to go through all the trees on the Bonsai Acres today, so I will do part of it today, and I'll continue the next time I come out. Today's focus is mainly weeding, but there's a couple of trees like this that I want to take care of. Here's a perfect example of what should we do to this tree. This is all experimental mode for me, but do we see right here at the tip of my scissors right here? That's a new bud. That's back budding on this tree. So this is back budding, and the tip is kind of maybe a goner, but we've got some back budding. So the question is, how much of this should I take off to make sure this survives? Now there's nothing up top that's surviving, so I would like to think I could take most of it off. But there's also some growth around it. So we got this branch below it, this branch below it, back here and here. This is the whorl from the 2nd or 3rd year growth right here. And here's the back bud right here. We also have a little bud right here by my scissor tip. Right there, hard to see. That also is a little bit of green. That little green is life, right? So I'm not going to chop that one off. And also, very hard to see on the camera, I'm sure. I can't see because I'm focusing on my scissors. Right here, there's 2 more green buds that are trying to push out. So I'm going to cut carefully and make sure that I don't cut anything too soon to make sure this green all grows up a little bit before I cut too much of the old stuff off. So that's the kind of things I'm looking for, and we'll make some decisions as we come across these trees. So here's what I left on the tree in the end. So we've got some new buds on the bottom here, new buds on the bottom here, here, and here. So this tree is fine down below. And then we've got this bud right here that I left on that's green. We've got this green bud right there. There's a couple little tiny buds right here. If this doesn't grow, hopefully the bottom will take off and we'll have a whole new tree. Like something walked by and just broke this thing off anyway, and the growth will be down below. But now no more energy is being wasted on the parts of the tree that are dying, and we can get all the resources into those living tissue branch. All the weeding is done for the trees, and I've trimmed some of those trees that had the brown tips, brown edges, and things are looking really good. I actually found on several trees some really nice puffs of back budding lower on the tree, even though it looked like it was dead on top. So we got rid of some of the brown foliage, brown branches, and hoping that those new buds and the branches that are alive are just going to take over on the trees. So the next thing is to put some more mulch over all the trees. So I was fortunate that probably my friend Neil dropped off a little bit of mulch right on the corner of the Bonsai Acre field here. But about 200 yards that way, over my shoulder, is some more mulch. So of course, grab the wheelbarrow, start making a few of those trips that go to and from the mulch pile, placing them on various parts of the Bonsai Acre plot here, and we'll get some mulch in and around the trees. Now, the mulch is going to keep in the moisture. We didn't get a ton of rain last night, as I found out weeding. Some of the drier spots were definitely dry. If we don't get rain in the next couple of days, where I feel this plot of land got a nice drenching, I may consider coming out here and getting buckets of water and watering these trees once here before we have a long spell without water. Especially the newer trees, because they're not as established as the older trees. So we'll see what happens there. So the mulch will protect whatever moisture is there. It'll protect moisture in the future and keep things really in good shape. So we'll get that mulch spread out around each tree, and then we'll consider if we're feeling up to tagging the trees today, or if we push that off to the next day. As always, make sure you keep it hydrated when you're out in the sun like this. Not terribly hot yet. We're pushing 90s in a few days, but got to keep the water in. Well, that just about does it. We're out here at Bonsai Acres, putting the final mulch around the base of the trees that were planted. a couple weeks ago. And I think we're done for the day. Coming up on 1:30. Been out here for 3 hours. And it's looking pretty good. We got things weeded, cut back, mulch on about 90% of the trees. That's new. Some of the newer trees that we planted have a lot of good mulch on them still, so I'll do a second round of mulch. If I have to come out and water soon, we'll take a peek at that. Starting to steam up a bit. Clouds have taken over a good 3/4 of the sky, and we might be due for some more rain here coming up. Hopefully we'll get some rain to get all these trees nice and watered before I have to come out with buckets. Yeah, it's always a challenge. Hey, that's going to do it for another one out here at Bonsai Acres. It's been fun. We're making progress. More updates on the way. More flashbacks from years gone by. Today we flash back to June of 2020, where we had a lot of tall grass. This thing looks different every couple of weeks for sure. Hey, take care of you. Take care of your bonsai. And you know what? We're going to see you very, very soon at the house or right here at Bonsai Acres.